invited to actually talk about a paper written on my master's thesis. I just thought that once you're done with it, okay, relegate it to a little corner and leave it there. So it's a bit overwhelming for me as well to actually talk about what I've written. So in the thesis that I did, I talked about the Tolonaki Conceptual Framework. It's still very much work in progress. I'm sure that a lot of upcoming researchers might want to look at it and further elaborate on this framework. And also I think my Fifi Kamaka actually talks about this as well. Yeah, so so it's just taken from my experience and knowledge as a Tongan and a school leader. In fact, I became, for most of my life, working life, I worked in the outer islands, even to the faraway near Tapu. So most of my experience is in the islands. And just when I came back to Tonga, I was in Tonga College before being principal at Tonga High School. So that principalship actually made me think about this. Because one thing I do realize is that we are taken to go and have higher education, and when we come back to Tonga, there's this great expectation on you, and you either sink or swim. Especially being principal or school leader, you feel you need some support. There's very little in a formal workplace, and especially as a woman, you have to perform. I think the expectation is higher in Tonga being a woman leader than, and my respects, no disrespect to the men here, but that's actually how I feel, and that's what got me to writing the paper. So I've chosen a metaphor of, and I was just gonna, sorry, I think this is of Omaya, I've dirtied the place, but I just wanted you to, in fact, in talking about this, I've never taken a visual presentation. So I just thought to bring it here today just for you to see. I know you can all tell what this is. I'd just like to ask a volunteer, so I'll ask Nicholas if he could just come here and just unearth it and see if you find anything inside of it. Yeah, just keep going, and then what do you find? Do you see more of it, or just one?
A couple pieces.
More pieces. Yes, more pieces.
More pieces.
Yeah. Thank you. Can you show them the pieces? Yeah. Can you show them your hands now?
Wow.
Is that clean or dirty?
Dirty fingerprints.
Right. Thank you. That's what brings me to the next one. So in my Tolonaki framework, I have a few steps. I took it from the indigenous fire making that is common across the countries in the Pacific to present what I think of mentoring our leaders. There's a lot of literature out there in the world. There's so much in the websites, but I wanted to have a look at a Tongan approach to mentoring, what works for us. Because at the end of the day, when you lead a school or institution, it's usually those traditional practices that you fall back on, that empowerment traditionally that you actually go back to and get some more refilling of yourself. So what Nicholas just did is my first step. And my apologies to the Tongan, but I did try to do some research on the word. And it's to uncover. So what Nicholas just did was uncovering, exposing, identifying, looking for that charcoal. And in fire making, for the next day, you bury the charcoal. You keep it warm for the next day, because there were no matches then, and maybe there are no matches now. And when COVID came about, it just brought me back to this. So that's the first step of mentoring, I guess, in our traditional sense, is that you uncover, you look for that hidden piece of charcoal that's yet to come out. And he did, I like the way that he did it, was kind of gentle. It's a gentle uncovering. Yeah? It's not digging furiously. It's not trying to find, it's not a competition. It's slowly trying to look for that charcoal that's hidden there. Look for that crystal within. Everybody has that. We all have it. There are hidden things within us that we know will work, that will help us. We just need someone to come and bring it out. And in doing that, when you have the charcoal in you and you give it that breath of life, pupuhi. In Tongan, sometimes when the young children are sick, that's what grandmothers do. That's the word you hear, pupuhi. You blow into it. That flicker of a flame, it has to come out. And when you see that sign, you know that this person wants to be helped. That this child or this leader is ready to be helped. And you bring it to life by blowing. And you add little twigs, little soft little twigs, leaves, dried leaves, because you want to heighten that awareness. You want to bring it out. You want to work towards what that person wants to be helped on. And then you keep blowing. You keep blowing so that the flicker turns into a flame. You don't stop. You are happy. You are excited even that there's a flick of hope there. That there is a need to be mentored, to be coached, to be helped. And in doing so, you come up with my Tolonaki framework. Tolonaki is stoking the fire. It's gathering your firewood. It's bringing them together to put into the fire so that it becomes a flame. It's strengthening. And when you bring the firewood, you are selecting. You are choosing the right firewood. Your strategies has to be the right strategy. What is it that makes this person come alive? And you don't just bring any firewood. All of us who has done this, well, I grew up not doing it, but now learning and having to teach, I don't think my children knows anything about creating an open fire. But this is where you bring your firewood, you choose them, you bring the right one, you look at your strategies, and you keep bringing that into the fire. And this process is Tolonaki because in a sense, you keep pushing the wood in when it burns. It has to be pushed in so that the fire continues to sort of burn. And it is this place where you cannot doze off and sleep. You are alert, you are awake, because if you do sleep, the wood will burn away and then the fire will die down because there's no more wood to build a fire. And of course, it is at this place where your eyes hurt, you are tired, the smoke is everywhere. But that is mentoring. It is the giving of yourself. It is going to the, sorry, this is where I have to stop my phone because I have people, and this is the strategies. And this is where you continue to have it burn. And you might need another type of firewood. Maybe this firewood doesn't, bring out the flame better. Okay, I'll bring something else. Maybe this might work. And in the middle of it, I'll push in another firewood. But the Tolonaki pe ka olewa ke wongoi o vena mai. And I'll keep doing that process. And at the end of it, the fire burns. And even when it's raging and it's burning, if you put in a wet firewood, it still burns. And that is the job of a mentor. That is mentoring. This child or this leader will continue to burn because they feel that you have helped them. They feel that the strategies have worked. They feel that they have come out and they're aligned and they are willing to do anything because inside them, the passion is ignited and the passion is there to help. And I just brought 3 things here. First, on mama. When the fire making, first of all, brings out light. In the dawn of a new day, and there's light in the work that is being done. There's a move through the tunnel. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. Of fire mama, fire and there's mafana, there's warmth. Of mafana loto, vela loto. In Tonga, we sometimes wonder why do they keep giving, putting on all these dollars on a person. It's not about because you're rich, it's that warm feeling inside you that you just want to give and you want to help. And that's what this thing should produce. Not only the person, but yourself. And of course, when the mom and mafana is there, they're going, well done. Go take five. And these 3 M's brings out the mentoring approach, the processes. In the Tongan culture, where there's a funeral, and I'm just about to go to a funeral, this is seen as the most insignificant, the lowly place is the lioni, where you are actually at the food making process, and it's not the most prestigious status in a funeral, but it is the most important. This is servant leadership. This is where this is where you have to start to be a mentor. That you come down to that level, you take in the smoke and all the things that come with it, the hardships, because you want that person to be able to feel it and to go forward. In doing so, because I'm very conscious of your time, I brought something from William Butler Yeats. Education is not the feeling of a bale, like a fire, but the lighting of a fire. Tuto e hafi, ke vela pe mafa. Like a fire phone pe. Keep giving ke phone. No, you ignite that fire within a person so that the person can be filled. You tell the person to jump in a little hurdle, that person will jump higher. This point in the 16th, 17th century, education is not going to and that person can do just about anything you ask them to do. They will not ask for money. They will want to do it because they feel it. So you have to touch that. Alaseloto. What's that? Where's that charcoal that hasn't been ignited? That's where we should look at in education. As leaders, as mentors, as teachers, look for the child. What is it that's still hidden? What makes that child glow? How can I get through to the child? Or to the youth who's on drugs? Or to a school leader who's thinking, that's it, I cannot do anymore. And then when that passion is ignited, leader can do anything. And they can even climb mountains to do it. So that is my presentation. There's so much to it. You can ask me questions, and I have just a few questions. Malo.
Yeah. Malo.
Yeah, and I just say, how do you conceptualize mentoring in your culture? What are some of the formal and informal mentoring practices in your own country? How can Tolonaki help you to mentor school leaders, or just group members, or women in the village, or just young people, the youth, and just reflection and discussion. And what's our way forward? I know there hasn't been any literature on mentoring in Tonga or the Pacific for the matter. I know Dr. Chiri Chu, who does it in the University of Waikato, but that's just about it. And I'm not sure if it really works. I haven't actually done it on site, but I really feel that with my literature, that it can support that if we do actually follow these steps. There's so much in these steps, and a lot can be taken out of it. Sorry. So there's so much in all these 4 steps that you can add to, and you can bring out some more ideas that you think should help. It's probably very raw, so I apologize. But this is just some of the work that I brought into Fifi Kamaka, and if we can do this in where I work, or do this to our children, your own children even at home or at the school, I'm sure that's the missing gap in Tonga. We have so much of religion, ako, they're all up there. What's happening with the character of our children? There's something missing somewhere. So hopefully if we can bring in the traditional indigenous knowledge and merge it into our formal westernized schooling system, I'm sure maybe we can have the best of both worlds. Malo. I envision that if you just follow the steps and just work on it, that it can be effective or useful. I know that one of the challenges to this is that it's time consuming, and young people nowadays just want fast track solutions. Everything has to be fast, but I think that's the essence of the tradition is that it's not fast. It takes time. You give it time. It takes patience as well. So to actually reach the heart, I think you need that time. You need to sit down. Parents need to sit down at home and have that time, because now we try to do a quick fix with everything we do, and it's not working for some of it. So yeah, I think that the steps are to me probably very broad. I'm just highlighting majors here, but it can be broken down into little steps. And you can just pick either one that you want to start with. I think if you start with either one of these steps, at least you're making a move. I think right now with the ministry, I think we really need this. We have not, I should say, actually explored this to actually have it. We've used just what we feel that we have in the Western schooling in our classrooms that are universal. We just have classroom management practices. We have, character building with the students. But I don't think we've actually touched this. In fact, I have not worked on this or put this out to our ministry. But I think if we do, maybe we can help the students in that way. In fact, now we only have a professional development team for primary school that actually goes out and does the professional development. We've got Dr. Sela Teisina Beck, who's a doctorate is on professional development. So she's trying to work on that division to actually disseminate it to our secondary schools. But so far they still work. It's just started last year. Yeah. But as for me, I have not put this out to the ministry, just written it and left it there. So thank you to the Peace Corps for recognizing it. But I've had some little talks in just youth groups and churches, a few who have just sounded this out, and maybe if the teachers or even the school leader can do this with their teachers, have a session where they come out and say, okay, I'm looking for something, talk to me, what is it that you, it's not talking to them about what you see, because Malala, the charcoal is hidden, it's covered, it's maybe dirty, it is the dirtiest part, you get your hands dirty, but you have to get your hands dirty. It's not a clean, white collar job, because it's all about being a servant. It's leadership and mentoring. It's giving of yourself, and it's going right to the core, because some of us, you don't want to talk about it, but maybe if you do, maybe with your own children even, I'm sure they'll come out and talk to you and tell you something that you never thought it was there, and maybe you can help ignite it into a more positive approach. Yes, it is. I think that there might be more things here that you know that I don't, and that's the beauty of bringing this, because there's never one answer, or I'm not saying this is the approach, I'm just giving you a bit of the approach that can help you in your own way, actually, but you're very right, stories, yes, and that's why I sort of link it to tradition, because we were oral storytellers, our history is oral, and this is how we pass it on. And one thing also that I realized in how did our master craftsmen became so good, our boat builders, our weavers, and they had no formal education, there was no written paper. They were just being told how to do it, they've been encouraged. they were being nurtured. And so our 4 golden five kavikola can be embedded in that as well. The respect, which is universal, they're all universal, but in a unique Tongan way. How can we bring that out? Yes. Especially in this day and age, and I'm not speaking for everyone though, but I know that as leaders we sometimes take in the authority and we feel we just have to tell you what to do. But I think that's the missing thing. Traditionally, our leaders actually came down to the level where they needed to just start with you on a clean slate, and just because I come back, having gotten all these degrees doesn't mean that I know everything. I have to really come down to that level and actually bring them up. And together we can make like a very good fire. So, but at home, I sort of tried to start off with one of my sons, who's just very wayward. So I'm still at the very first stage, trying to get to that charcoal. So I'm not sure whether it really works with a mother and a son, or maybe someone else should come into it. So that is another research. So trying to find out what is it that I didn't see as a mother, what are his hidden feelings, as it were, that he can't express to me. And so it's just starting there, and sometimes I feel like giving up and okay, I'll just pray for you. I'll just do more prayer and fasting. Ko pe help fuwhema tai mimi na whema upe ki mua because ko anga ko wakai ko mawa ko e whanau lo kia ko kai kei I kai peke sai, me be ko whanau lelei pe ni au sai, kai ko fukep lahi o whanau ako o fiu whenga, Paka meka na na whawhakau ko whiha meke mau tau toko ni, tuku ai ai ako e leso ni, instead of teaching the subject like mathematics, just try and touch the heart. Where is it that they need to have? Sometimes we think we know, but we don't really. What is the child going through that we need to come out and say so we can help them? And because I also notice in this day and age with technology, they've got information overload. They don't need teachers. They just can click into the internet and get information. But what is it? Where is my role as a teacher and as a mother? And also as a school leader, I felt that I needed, like sometimes there are a lot of decisions that you make at school, and you needed some support. But of course you can ask your colleague, but then they always say, oh, it's up to you, whatever you decide. And if you ask your superiors, they'll go, okay, are you worthy for this job? Do you know what you're doing? And then the only thing you fall back on is going back home, looking for your, grandparents, elderly uncle, maybe the priest, and you go and, share to them what you feel. And it is from there that these things come. And they empower you and they make you feel, oh, I can do it. Okay, you got it in you something. And then you come back refreshed. And so I used to wonder, why can't I have that here in the formal workplace? Why do I have to go back and look for these people? Can I bring it into the workplace? Can we bring it into the workplace so it's there? Yeah, it's there all the time and you can fall back. And even for a novice school leader or a novice teacher or someone who's just new to the job, they need this. And for the ones who have been there all the time, you still need a pat on the shoulder. Because sometimes you feel in the workplace, especially in the formal workplace, you don't feel that pat on the shoulder. It's either you do it good, okay, thank you, and if it's not done well, okay, maybe you should go back. So you just need that, yeah. But I still feel we need it. We need it at home, in the churches, and yes, I speaking for education, yes, we really need it in the classrooms. The teachers need this. They need to be mentored, like this, so they can in turn mentor their students. So this was actually, the thesis was directed towards school leaders. I believe that the teachers are agents of change. So if I went to the principal, then everything will be fine. It will trickle down. And sometimes we go direct to the classroom, to the child, but I think we need to go to the top. Sometimes we focus on the child, but no, you focus on the leader, so the leader can empower the teacher, and then everything will just fall into place. Sometimes when we think that teachers are not committed, I just think that they haven't been mentored enough. Because the non-commitment is the product, is the outcome. So to me, they show it like that because they just need to be mentored. And I think also if you're going to take up this task, yes, be ready to go out all the way. It's not a half-half job. You don't just go and tafu the hug and say, okay, I'm done, I'm going. No, you have to be committed from the beginning to the end, because that's the only way you can see growth and development. And so it's not an easy thing. It's a big ask of you to when you mentor someone, and then you have to really know the steps so that you can feel. But I think there's joy in it, because even after you like at the first stage of the blowing, you feel happy, like, wow, and you are happy, excited, okay, but you're not going to throw in the big fireworks, the big guns, no. Like a baby, it has to start small, chew it properly, but then just because you're excited, okay, you can do this. I think no, it takes time, you go slowly. Degree right, I mean, we want big results. Oh yeah, where I'm doing something right. But enough be I take time to why. One of us might know but to a week. Oh, Martin, the Foki and cover, like a step go out and cover. But me I forgot never find more Tamaya find more week. I get Tamaya so I think we will have hope, it will work. Hangē when you cook it. Somewhere a moho beki, I beki ufe moho loto. Leo ota koto, kai I beki moho loto pea. So revisit. In fact, my steps are elape for poeta, my step koi. Happen may work. Wina pele o mai ke na tokoni as a guideline. Koi kita taki pe tok falale re ia te koi a loto, but yes, to answer your question, I'm sure it will work. Peka pau ke fatonga he community pe koi taki kaku ke fatonga ki hawea, that's acknowledgement enough.
Thank you.
Tui whakalotu ko koi pe mo eiki. In fact, when I was doing the research on this, one of the elderly teachers, primary school, she said to me, Amelia, when in that stage, the tafunaki, like you said, you can put in anything, even a wet firewood. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that guy forget the Thank you, see, that's wisdom. So I share it and they share back. And then it just got to me and I said, wow, it's so interesting. You can throw in anything and everything. But you are. I think because in the office or in the Western schooling system, we discount traditional practices. I think it's that perception. Maybe it has become a stereotype that it's not needed here. This is formal learning. Yeah? This is where the textbooks speak for you. This is facts. There's no such thing that you're supposed to bring. And I guess it's that type of perception that even I first had too, that we just thought, okay, this is formal schooling, I have to get facts from books and I have to look up mentoring. These things are just, just for the home. It doesn't work here. But actually it's the home where you got that empowerment. When you went back and you seek out an elderly uncle, you're just so easy to talk to. You said, oh, I'm feeling really down. I just He said, you know, that he builds that warmth in you, and then he believes in you. You know, he says, no, you got it. You got the potential. Look at it this way, and then you know you feel so good, and then you wonder who in the office is going to do that for you. Eh? And everyone's busy. Everyone has their own job to do, and there's no job description that says you're a mentor. You know, and of course they'll probably ask, I have to be paid to do mentoring. You know. I think just to answer that is probably just like being a teacher. When you see your child actually learning, I think that's just a gain for you. Something you can't really describe. You just feel that inner happiness that they've actually just got that sum, that mathematic formula, or that, you know, that sentence, and you feel that that inner happiness. Eh? But also, I think it's very important here in the steps that the mentor has to replenish. You have to take time out for yourself. You have to let everything go and go out, and really, this is my me time. You know, like you were mentioning, you know, because otherwise you get burned out, and then you get frustrated and it's not working. But sometimes you need time for yourself, and the mentor also have to take time out to say, okay, I'm gonna go get refreshed, then come back and revisit the steps. And so it's not something there, like I said, that you have to get the results right away. You'll see these results in a few years' time, but when they come, you know, they'll come full on the way, and they'll be so probably successful and effective. But you just have to be patient. So I think I noticed that with children as well, with my own children, you know, we lack patience in this world, in this modern world. You know, it's not there. We lack time and patience. We don't have time and we don't have patience. And I'm guilty of that too as well. So, yeah, it's a challenge for the leaders and the teachers as well. Because you know, we're set on our mindset. I'm going to school, I'm teaching. I don't have time to look for that. Yeah, I need to teach mathematics, I need to teach science. But then when you, at the end, halfway through the year, and the kid is not getting it, and you get frustrated, then that's where we should have done this. But those are things that can help. Yeah, it is a challenge, especially in education, even in our own workplaces. I'm no longer in a school setting, but I'm in a division where we run the examinations. Yes, you know, examination is full-on official, formal, institutionalized. There's no such thing as traditional there. But I used to think that maybe our assessments need to actually look at skills, because we look at fire making, it's all about the skill, you know, the little twig, the little fire, the selective process. It's the skill. And you don't just say, okay, I don't know anything, I can build a good fire. No, you know, you have to learn. It's a process of learning how to, so that the food can be really, really cooked well. So if assessments can somehow, probably in Tonga or sometime in the Pacific, focus more on skills of what the student can produce, rather than how much they can memorize or how much learning. A 90, what does a 90 mean? If a kid gets 90 out of mathematics, out of 100, what does that mean? It's just a figure. What has the child been able to acquire for the market out there? What are we teaching? Maybe that's why we need to revise our curriculum, our assessment, because it's more about the skill that they walk into the workplace. And it's the skill that traditionally it was all about skills. So that if you're lost in the forest somewhere or in the bush or plantation, you can make your own fire, you can survive. Because we were taught for survival. So that you don't need a gas stove and a match, but you can be anywhere at any time and you can still eat, I guess. Sorry, just I think that's a very good comment, and I think, yes, you're very right. How do we, you know, sound out these mentors to our young people? I guess just by probably just telling them that there are people out there that they can use, that they can talk to, and I know we take for granted that all our church leaders, our Faifikaus are all mentors because of the spirituality part of it, and also with regard to whatever skill they're learning. It's also good to point out to them, like the skilled weavers, the skilled master craftsmen, or even just cooking or flower arrangement. Yes, I think we just need to make a point where take time to actually sound that out, to also tell them that there are mentors, and also make the time to actually go out and seek those mentors, because we also need the right mentors. Sometimes I think it goes back also to quality. There may be many mentors, but we have to get the right one for the particular person. So I think we'll just go back to the selective in Tolonaki. Yes, we want to find mentors to start the process, but we also have to get the right mentors. Otherwise, it'll, more damage than what is currently in. Because I understand that with teachers, we have the homeroom time, the counseling time. But not all teachers are counselors, So some will counsel, yes, using a Bible verse, and okay. Some will counsel on your conduct yesterday, and then turn it around, it turns into a big tafulu counseling. So I think we all just need to learn how we can blend probably the best of how our grandparents have done it with us, and how we can bring part of the modern world to it. And then I'm sure we can, probably help the child. I don't think this is unique for Tonga. I think it's a universal concept. So only because we say it's sort of Tongan, but I think they can still use that in their own way, how they perceive it, just gently, because it's more like coaching and mentoring, just gently trying to bring that person to talk. If they just follow that simply, that's fine. The only thing I think Tongan here is just the words that we use it, because we had used it to connect it, but I think it's a very universal idea as well. On how to create fire. So if they can just go through it, and the only difference with it is that if you make fire in Tonga, you're going to use the Tongan firewood, the available Tongan firewood here. So that difference is there. If they could use the Tongan strategies that they have here, the one that's unique to Tonga, that works without Tongan, maybe that's the Tonganness that they can bring into. Otherwise, the rest is just, they probably have seen it or were done to them. We're mentored by it. And of course the outcome will probably be the same as other mentoring processes overseas and in their literature. But I guess with the selective that the kind gentleman has talked about it, you're going to be selected. You have to, I didn't put in the words, the names of the firewoods here, because I'm not an expert, but I'm sure, just asking, because every village is unique too as well. Every community, every island. So if you go to Vava'u, what kind of firewood they have there, the kind that really works in the umu or in the fire. That's that's what they'll use. Get that, and then just talk to the child and the family and the community. I think that's the uniqueness. That's probably the Tongan approach. Then where the child grew up, the surrounding, how the child had come. Journey towards the school. So that's the only different aspect, I guess. But the rest, this is just very simple, basic steps. If they just follow it through, I'm sure they might be helpful. So to go back to what's the objective of let's say, okay, you're teaching this child to pass the exams. So what are the main objectives that you want done? And that's what I think that's where you'll try and begin with it. Like if you're trying to get the child to talk about, let's say for English, I'm doing class 6 examination at the end of the year. What are some areas in English that you feel you're lacking in? What is it that you don't like when I teach English? What is it that just never gets to you? So that's probably trying to get out that charcoal, what is it in English, and then trying to find, okay, what strategy shall I use to make you become better at vocabulary? What are the things that I need to give you? Shall I try this out? Shall we try this out? So I think, yes, you can use that same practice in the formal way of teaching and learning, where you actually find out what the child really wants to learn, or what do they need, because sometimes as teachers we generalize, we just assume, okay, your test result said, okay, you had 6 out of 20, you don't know anything about English, but maybe the child knows, but your questions weren't unpacked enough, or maybe the questions were ambiguous and he got the wrong answer, so you determined that he doesn't know. So I think it just goes back then, maybe the strategy, maybe I need to talk to the child. I think it's the talking that we really need here. Even as you prepare them for the examination, have the child come out and say, this is what I want to be taught this way. Can you read the book like this to me? You know, can you show me more maths? And then that's where you pick from there, and then start looking for little strategies along the way, and then probably they might master that formula or that sentence, yeah. So just following the basic steps, you can probably weave it into your teaching practice. In fact, it can even become a lesson plan for teachers. They can use it as a lesson plan. Okay, this is how I start. This week, I'm just gonna talk to my children. Of course, the deputy will say, what kind of planning activity is that? Just talking? Yeah, but then you just need to say, this will work. Yeah? I believe it works, so I just need time to just talk. I'll call them one-to-one. We don't usually do that in Tongan formal classrooms, especially with government schools, where I spend the whole week on just talking. But I think that's the groundwork that you need to do. And then next week, in my plan, all right, now I need to breathe into this. What shall I bring? The little twigs, what little dried leaves that I can bring, and say, okay, I'll start with the subject, verb, object. I'll start with vocabulary. I'll bring a dictionary to work, because maybe they can't afford a dictionary. Maybe I can bring it. And then slowly selective, like he said. And then from there you start spawning.